Hello, and welcome to the next in the Effective Writing Center series of workshops, the first of this school year. I'm Dan Gallagher, Director of the Effective Writing Center. Tonight's workshop is titled Read Before You Write, Tips and Tricks for Successfully Researching, Reading, and Note-Taking, and is being presented by Mo Bishop and Kevin Folliard, with material also prepared by Laura Deffley. For 7 years, Mo Bishop has been a writing advisor for the EWC. She works in both synchronous and asynchronous environments. Mo recently earned a graduate certificate in rhetoric and composition and is slated in December to receive her master's degree in English at the Indiana East University. Kevin Folliard has been a writing advisor with UMUC's Effective Writing Center since 2010. He has a degree in English and creative writing from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and he has published sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and young adult fiction. Laura Deffley received a BA in English from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where she studied literature, psychology, and gender studies. She continued her study of literature at the University of Maryland at College Park, where she earned an MA. Laura has worked at both of her alma maters, as well as at New York University. Since 2008, she has been an online writing advisor for the Effective Writing Center at the University of Maryland University College. To ask a question during this broadcast, please use the URL at the top of the screen. It will need to be typed into your browser, or you can access it from the EWC's Google Plus community, where it can be located in the latest post. This workshop will be archived for future viewing in the Effective Writing Center's Google Plus community. And now, to begin tonight's workshop, I will turn it over to Kevin Folliard.
Thank you for the introduction, Dan. At the EWC, we know that as busy students, you are juggling families and careers. Your time is precious. So what can you do to maximize your research and note-taking efforts without wasting your time? Well, you can use the following tips and tricks on reading, researching, and note-taking to help make your life just a bit easier. First, you need to get your head in the game. What do you want to get out of this experience? Are you reading to get an overview of the topic, to be able to participate in class discussion, to answer an essay question, or something else? Be mindful of why you are reading so you can work towards the goal or assignment you have. Second, be selective. Only spend your time and energy on reading and taking notes on books and sources that the instructor has required or that will help you accomplish a goal like writing a paper. When researching to find sources for a research paper, only read articles and information that are of a high quality, like peer-reviewed articles. You have limited time, so don't waste it on the less than stellar and less than reliable information that's out there. Third, determine a source's usefulness as soon as possible. Part of being selective is knowing how to determine if an article or book will be helpful to you beyond whether it has been peer-reviewed or not. Here's what you should skim, read before deciding to read an article or research paper in full. The summary or abstract, the introduction, the headings, discussions, and conclusion section. Based on what you have skimmed, did the article seem relevant and useful based on what your current goal or project for the class is? If it doesn't seem relevant or useful, then move on. If it does seem relevant and useful, then please consider if one or more of the following is true before committing to reading the entire article in full. Does the instructor or field of study consider it to be essential reading? Is it extremely relevant? Is it likely to provide you with ideas or evidence that you can use to support your ideas? Is it the only or one of only a few credible peer-reviewed articles on the topic? In other words, is it one of the few things you have to use? If you answer yes to one or more of these questions, then please put that article in your to-read pile or box. Books are slightly different than articles, but there are still ways to be discerning to save you time and effort. First, check the date of publication. Was this source published within the last 5 to 10 years? If it was not, then it's probably out of date, unless the instructor has indicated that this source is the basis for understanding the entire field or issue. That's one of the only exceptions for reading a book that is older than 10 years. Next, read the publisher's blurb on the cover or look through the editor's introduction to see whether it is relevant. If it's not relevant, then don't read anymore. However, if it is relevant, then you need to start looking through the contents page. Does it cover what you want? Is it at the right level? Not too introductory, but not too advanced. Also, how many pages are devoted to the topic that you want to know about? Are there too few pages on the topic? Will it not go into the amount of depth that you need? Alternately, is the source too in-depth? Do you just need the main takeaways as opposed to tons of details? Like Goldilocks, you are looking for something that is just right. If you find the contents page is at the right level and depth, then please take a look through the introduction to get an idea of the author's approach. Also, please be sure to look up an item in the index so you can skim a few paragraphs to see how the author provides information and whether it's the kind of information you need for your project. In addition, it does not hurt to skim the bibliography to see the range of the author's sources. Did he or she use a lot of sources or only a few? Would some of the sources in the bibliography be helpful to you? Also, are there examples, illustrations, diagrams, tables, etc., that are easy to understand? Will they be helpful? If you feel pretty good about a book after considering all that has been discussed, then put it in your to-read pile. Now, Mo is going to give you some even higher level tips for discerning if sources are right for you. She's also going to cover more tips for handling electronic sources like web pages. Over to you, Mo.
Thanks, Kevin. Your research information is really thorough. Here are a few more hints to help you quickly determine if a book, article, or web page is relevant. For researching a book, one way is to look at a review of the book or article. Typically, the review will have a detailed synopsis of the source. This is a quick way to determine if the topic, the thesis, and the conclusion are relevant to your inquiry. For perusing an online article, the university library wrote that if you're working with an online article, use your computer's find function. In other words, press the Control and F key to locate keywords or phrases in the article. Read around the important phrases for context. Is this author taking the issue in a direction that connects with your own ideas and questions? And when glancing at a web page, the New York Institute of Technology added that with an article or web page, you cannot count on having an index or a table of contents. So you should speed read the first 3 paragraphs and the last 3 paragraphs. That's where good authors always put their main ideas. Remember, speed reading is okay when searching for a source, but if you decide the source is useful, make sure to read it in its entirety. Have you spent too long researching and ended up with more sources than you need? This can really clutter up your writing with too many sources, taking more time than is needed to wade through them. It is easy to get lost in research. To stay focused, copy and paste your assignment at the top of all your working documents. An occasional glance to remind you of your research goals will prevent you from taking a turn in the wrong direction and spending too much time on that research process. After efficient research comes effective reading. Isn't that right, Kevin?
That's right, Mo. Once we have a bunch of sources in our physical or virtual to read pile, we have to jump in and start reading through them in a more in-depth fashion. Does that mean you're going to read everything word by word? No. In fact, we're going to advise that at first you skim as well as employ some of these speed reading enhancing tricks. Now, again, does that mean you won't read anything? Of course not. Eventually, you will read an article or book in its entirety. Rather, speed reading is just another step in making sure that you have a source that is really worth your time to read thoroughly. First, as you're reading, do not mouth words or stare at individual words. Instead, please strive to only allow your eyes to stop at every third word. As you continue to read in this fashion, you can reduce the amount of times your eyes stop. Thus, they might stop on every fourth word, then every fifth word, etc. As with any skill, the more you practice, the better you will become. Now that you know it's about reading in a specific way, you should be able to read quickly and more efficiently. Also, just as you were looking at specific sections when you were researching to determine if the source was relevant, you will be looking at certain areas and sections of the resources more than others to find those main ideas. For instance, within articles, you will review a lot of the same key information, but you will be looking for the argument that is being proven and the main points used to support it. You should proceed speed reading in the following order. Start with the abstract, then move on to any figures or graphs. Then read the introductory paragraph, the final paragraph, and the headings. To gain more information and go more in depth, then please read the first sentence of each paragraph. At this point, you can usually determine if the source will be useful and decide to read the full article in its entirety. As you've probably already guessed, there is a recommended order for reading sections of a book as well. Ideally, you would want to start reading a book in the following order: the contents page, the index section, first and last paragraphs of the introduction, any descriptive headings in the introduction, and the first and last paragraphs of the conclusion. Then, if you're interested in a topic covered by a particular chapter, please use the same approach to skimming the chapter: first paragraph, last paragraph, any figures or graphs, and the headings. Again, if you wish to take it further because you think you need to spend more time on a particular section or chapter, then read the first sentence of each paragraph. At that point, you can decide which paragraphs you should read in their entirety, or if you should sit down and read the entire book. Now, as you're doing the skimming, you may be wondering, how should I be taking notes to help me remember what I'm reading quickly and efficiently? Like everything else we've discussed so far, there are some helpful hacks to go about note-taking. To increase the effectiveness of your notes, as well as to make the best use of your time, please use incomplete sentences. Complete sentences are generally a waste of time. Streamline note-taking by using abbreviations and shortcuts. Utilize a format that is clear. It does you no good to take notes if the format you take them in is unclear or confusing to you personally. Note the main points and all the sub-points. You need not include every detail, but you should be able to summarize to someone who has not read an article what the main points of it are and how they fit together. In addition, please annotate or highlight the text to help you find the most relevant passages pertaining to your topic. Interact with the text. If you have a question about something, write it quickly. If you doubt a claim the writer made, insert a question mark or something else to indicate that you want to double check or verify that piece of information later. In other words, maintain a healthy skepticism of the text by using your critical thinking skills. Tag your reading with keywords that are meaningful for you. Rank your sources based on their helpfulness and relevancy for your project. Remember that your notes are for your eyes only. Thus, they can and should be organized and presented in such a way as to trigger your own memory. They do not have to be perfect. They can have spelling and grammar errors in them because the only person who sees them is you. Now Mo has some additional tips as well as advice on how to use e-readers in your studying. Take it, Mo.
Thanks, Kevin. These suggestions will definitely save students a lot of time. Here are a few more ideas for effective note-taking that will streamline the process. Create a separate page for quotations and sections you plan on paraphrasing. Make sure to record citation info and URLs for quick and easy access. Consider developing an informal annotated bibliography, one for your eyes only. Write a brief synopsis of every source along with URL. Then, when you are ready to write your first draft, your informal annotated bibliography will save you time, eliminating the need to reread each source in order to find what you're looking for. Finally, remembering the information you have researched, read about, and recorded is often necessary for an assignment. Studies have shown that taking notes in cursive helps students to remember what they have written. Yes, I said cursive. This classical form of note-taking may be more time-consuming, but if it is important to you to remember the information you have so painstakingly acquired, you will find it's worth the extra time. Now, what about e-readers? Using e-readers is an excellent way to address research assignments. In fact, much of this information we are presenting is applicable to e-readers such as Amazon's Kindle, Kindle for PC, and Barnes & Noble's Nook. Frankly, I prefer using the software program Kindle for PC than purchasing a book because I find it easier to research, easier to read what is most applicable to my topic, and easier for quick note-taking on my e-reading program. Did you know there are some great functions that are specific to e-readers? First, the search function for an e-reader works much like the find function we discussed earlier. Users can just type in a keyword, and the program offers every instance in the book or article where the keyword appears. Kindle's Smart Lookup function is my favorite research tool. Without ever leaving the page, the user can look up any topic. Right-click a topic, be it single word or phrase, and Smart Lookup offers the definition. Then click on the word More, and the user can be transported to Google, search the book for the topic, or see the Wikipedia post on the topic. Remember, Wikipedia is not a credible source. Similar to researching and reading books, e-readers also have options for highlighting and note-taking. The advantage is these tools can be retrieved with one keystroke. Personally, I like saving my info on flashcards, another tool for Kindle. They allow for instant access. In fact, highlights and notes may easily be transferred to flashcards. And there is more. Users can send web articles and Word documents to their Kindle. Amazon has a page with full instructions called Send to Kindle. Users can also attach PDFs to emails and send them to Kindle. Putting these sources in Kindle will allow the user to utilize all these excellent researching, excellent reading, and excellent note-taking tools. Well, I think that covers it. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mo. It is good to know how to use the latest technology and combine it with effective strategies. Now, at this time, does anyone have any questions? And remember that you can use that URL at the top of the presentation to submit questions. I'm going to take a quick look, and we will wait a moment to see if we've got any. Looks like we have one. Okay. Someone has posted a question. Raul, who would like to know more about paraphrasing articles. Well, in general, paraphrasing is, you're going to use the same strategies for note-taking, searching when you're looking for paraphrases. The only different thing about them is you're not using direct quotes. You're putting the words into your own words. So I'm not sure if Raul has a follow-up question to that, or if, but
I could add a few things. I know
sure.
a lot of people sometimes when they're paraphrasing, they think if they change every other word that that's fine. What you're doing is you're really paraphrasing the idea that the other author is saying. And don't forget, even though you're paraphrasing, you do have to cite and reference the source.
That is a great tip. Yeah, paraphrasing is, it's the same as quotations. You need to be just as diligent in crediting the source, and you can hunt for paraphrases as you're researching and note-taking in much the same way that you're going to be looking for quotations, highlighting a passage in a book that you think you want to put in your own words later, and collecting it using the strategies we were talking about.
And I'll just jump in and add something there as well. One of the tricks to good paraphrasing is really being comfortable with what it is that you're paraphrasing. That means knowing it inside and out. So in order to paraphrase something well, you need to have read it very carefully, understood it very clearly, and then be comfortable in speaking about it as if you are an expert on the topic after you've finished your research.
That's a great tip, Dan. Yeah, and when you dive into research, like we've been discussing here, if you've really familiarized yourself with the topic, you can think about an idea, read a passage, and then kind of take a moment and write it down in your own words in your own way, the more you've read about that topic, the easier it is to paraphrase. That's very true. So I don't see any more questions yet, but we can give it a minute if you want, Dan.
Sure.
You might have more that just haven't shown up yet. But that was a very good question, Raul.
While we're waiting, I'll just reiterate that this video will be archived in our Google Plus community. If you're not a part of our Google Plus community, just search Google Plus for UMUC Effective Writing Center, become a member. We have all of our video series from last year posted there, as well as updates on writing news, other things going on around UMUC and the Effective Writing Center. Okay, Kevin, I would say we can go ahead and finish your last couple of slides there, and then
Sounds good.
see if any other questions come in during that time, and otherwise we'll close up.
Sure. Well, thank you everyone who attended. We encourage you to like the Google Plus page, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel and view this video as well as other videos in our Google Hangout series. And of course, if you have any questions, if you're watching this as a recording, please feel free to email writingcenter@umUC.edu. You can also email the Writing Center anytime with any writing related question. These are the references that we used to put this presentation together. So in case you want to go check out any of these sources yourself, please feel free to do so. And here's page 2 of those references. And that's it, everyone. Have a great night. Please join us next time. We do this on the 3rd Thursday of every month. So thank you all, and have a great night.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you, Mo. And thank you to Laura Deffley, who helped create these materials. Thank you to everyone who watched or is watching the recording of this. Again, as Kevin mentioned, if you have any further questions, feel free to email us or simply post a comment underneath where this video is posted, either in YouTube or on Google+, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great night, and we will see you again on the 3rd Thursday of October.